Hello and welcome to Editing with My Wife, now with one finished book. I'm the Hooded Philosopher, and I'm here with Cheesy Loops. Cheesy Loops, what kind of podcast are we doing here?
Podcast where the heroes finish their first task.
They indeed do it. As you can see, the chapter titled, They Did It. I think it surprises even them.
I'm thinking that you should put a question mark at the end of that.
I was actually thinking a period. It's in response to the end of the book. The name of this chapter is in response to the very last line in the story of my book.
Okay.
Because there is an epilogue, and maybe we'll get into that, and then we'll discuss the future of the story, and then discuss our next story in the next podcast.
Okay.
We'll just do that and have fun. Just kind of chat about the story itself.
Sounds good.
And we'll kind of go recap the whole thing maybe too. And then get into the epilogue and move on to future concerns and then the next book. Pure uncut magic.
Pure uncut magic.
I am also putting these on a website for free to be read. And it is also going to be considered public domain. So anyone is able to use these freely for any purpose they want. I have absolutely zero wish to inhibit someone's creativity. And this is going to do the opposite of inhibit, I hope. I mean, that's my goal. But in the end, it's just to have fun. So let's do that. Let's start with what happened in the last chapter, or 2 chapters ago. It's Not Drugs, where Katie tells everyone that she's pregnant with Renner's, there with him.
I hope so.
And then Otto takes Renner off to a secluded spot to have a conversation that he really wants to have with him because he watched him die and he doesn't want to see that again and not say this.
Yes.
And Renner gets to say some things too. And then they end the last day with a fight, kind of, where... Oh no, that's kind of the beginning of the next day, isn't it?
Yeah, there's no fights.
No, the last day was not a fight so much as Otto and Izzy realizing that Hannah would have to do the killing. That's like the goal.
Oh, yeah, no,
they all realize that.
That is the beginning of the next chapter.
It's the beginning of the dark realization, but it ends the chapter like that.
No, it ends the chapter with Katie wanting to have a talk with Renner while he is not Mr. Serious.
Oh, is that the beginning of the next chapter? I'm sorry.
The beginning of next chapter.
Of the untitled chapter, we're hoping that somebody does. This is, of course, done right after it, so we still don't have it. No comments have been had. No, not a chance to have. So I'm not too concerned about it myself. We will. There we go. We will get there when we get there. Let's finish this.
Woo!
Chapter 24. They did it. Zig teleported them there instantly. Where is there?
To the
tree.
To
the tree, because they had some things they wanted to say.
Yes.
A plan they had devised. Because we skipped your recap. We skipped this last chapter recap.
You got so excited.
Well, you want to recap it real quick? See if you can just do it offhand? Because the dark realization that Hannah has to do the killing.
Hannah has to do the killing. They're trying to eat.
They go to bed. They finish going to bed.
Yeah, they wake up and... they go to bed, and then Renner and Katie wake up, and Katie's having a hankering for potatoes.
Mm-hmm. We had that today.
Which I got my potatoes with my ketchups.
And then they kind of talk to Zig about stuff. Let me go back to it. I got rushed.
Hannah realizes that she's going to have to be the one to kill Infrazig by absorbing Troon, or connecting with, or taking his consciousness in.
Taking him in as a part of her.
And right before she's about to do that, the others stop them and say, hey, we have another plan before anybody does anything stupid. And to come to the table of bounty.
See, that's what happened. Here we go. Thank you for your patience with that. Zig teleported them there instantly. Otto and Izzy were sitting next to each other with smug smiles plastered on their faces. Renner and Katie were through a portal to his bladder by a zig tree. It's in his bladder, I don't know if that's clear, which looked like a mirror of Zig. Otto and Izzy walked through, saying even Zig should be able to. Zig put a misty hand through, and when he stepped through, the children of Earth had given him a new experience. It was just Zig. He seemed to have no connection to anything but the mind he walked in with. Renner shouted, "I knew it would work!" He was hugging his wife in the next instant. "You feel it, don't you, Zig? It's just you." Zig was baffled, his misty eyes filled with tears of joy. For the first time in eons of existing, he felt what it was like to not know, to be ignorant of the reality of the universe. The burden of knowing lifted off his shoulders. He was laughing loudly with Renner. "What is this place? This space?" "It's my bladder. It's only big enough for so much consciousness. That's why my head hurts when everybody's in here." He caught himself and looked at Katie with loving eyes, except Katie. "I'm alone in here, and I have but you've never come in." "I've never tried, so I made the environment you live in, and..." He left it open because he didn't really know. "But Zig did. I'm alone in here. I am alone in here. I have no connection to Zig," Zig said for the first time, confusion showing on his face. "If you can lure him into your bladder, he would be in here alone, unsure of his grand scheme." Otto pulled a fruit off the tree and took a bite. What would happen if we then pushed him through the portal into Zig?" "I'm not sure. I am ignorant," he laughed as he walked back through the portal to Zig. "If you attempt this, you could die," Zig warned once they all came back through the portal. "I'm not... If I'm there," Hannah said confidently, "especially if we have the time and I can train and get better with Hannah." The metal began forming a lattice work up her arms, covering the holes it came from. It quivered with happiness, eyes looking at her from the back of her hands. "So then, what if we could get him back here?" Otto asked again now that they were back. "Well then, he will be reintegrated into Zig after a brief period of time. Hopefully all will be well. The reason we are all here will then show itself. We can aid the forces of good here and then go back to the council for reassignment," Zig explained almost bureaucratically. "Will the Earths reform?" Otto asked. "Yes, and all life will equalize, meaning nature has maintained control and will reassert dominance, being one being." "What's going to happen to us?" Renner asked. "That will be for the force of nature to decide." "Oh, that will be for nature to decide. However, Hannah will be hard for it to reduce, so she will likely be one to remain." Zig agreed that for as long as they could, they would remain here training every day for the eventual conflict with Infrazig. Renner spent time with Katie, growing closer as she grew in size. Into their second month, she got some bad news. They were at the table of bounty. "Katie, as your children grow, they..." "Children?" she repeated, confused. Zig let out a laugh. "I forget you humans have not the capability of fully grasping what you are. Of course you are having twins." Renner fainted, but Izzy caught him. Katie was crying. Hannah was comforting her. Zig was not finished talking. "I believe that this is the event. Your children are showing similar traits as their father and his siblings." "You mean if they're born, then that's the end of the world?" Otto asked. "No, that's just his grab for power will one day come to fruition. That could be centuries away." Zig smiled. "Most of you will have full, happy lives before then." The news changed Katie. She was afraid for her children now. Renner tried her best to console her, but as time went on, the thought of her husband disappearing terrified her more and more, and she became quite distant. Hannah, who had been training with Hannah, on the open fields of Zig, was so close to being one with the entity inside her. She had a habit of forming Hannah into a giant ball with eyes all over it and angelic wings holding it aloft. And she would sit and meditate in the ball of eyes, as the ball of eyes floated around Zig, spotting each person, learning about them. As she passed by the mountain, she saw Katie at the entrance, crying to herself. The great ball of eyes landed and reformed inside Hannah. Hannah walked to her and sat with her quietly. She was sobbing into her hands. Hannah was smiling at Katie. "Anyone else up here can feel me. I wish you could feel me too. I don't want to bear the loss of him," she got out in between sobs. "I think that because of you, nature will give him priority," she said, sitting there knowing full well that meant the loss of both Otto and Izzy. "But nature does seem to have its own plans that we are not privy to," Hannah concluded. "How about we just live today and tomorrow and live that? Let's just live today and tomorrow. Let's leave that for tomorrow." Renner said, coming around the corner. He was parodying something she said whenever he was worried about the future. She stopped crying and stood up. He was feeling Hannah's sympathy. You're right. Let's go to the lake for a swim, Katie said, standing up and wiping the remnants of the tears off her face. Hannah suddenly began to feel the depth of Katie's pain. Like the lake they were going to swim, the pain wasn't normal. It was something else making her feel this way. Her children had just connected to their aunt emotionally through their mother. Clearly the next generation will have improved grasp on their power. Katie wasn't just feeling her own emotions, she was feeling her unborn children's as well. The thought of losing their father affecting them before they are even born. Mind if I come too, Hannah? Oh, mind if I come too? Hannah and I have been trying some underwater stuff lately. Hannah stood up and began to walk with them, in case we have to fight Zig underwater. Sure, Katie said, grabbing Hannah's hand as she caught up. I want to see Hannah underwater too. Hannah is so pretty. Katie leaned over to Renner. Did I say that right? Renner nodded. This made Hannah laugh. As they walked to the beach, Hannah asked, have you guys been discussing names? Renner laughed. Not really. We've had a hard time talking about it. Katie giggled. The names isn't really ours to give anymore. What do you mean? Renner asked. Hannah giggled, her understanding back. I can feel them, she explained. She put his hand on her belly. No, not like that. Or he put his hand on her belly. No, not like that. She grabbed his hands. Like you feel Hannah. The excitement exploded out of Hannah, catching him off guard. They stopped walking. She held their hands over Katie's belly. The boy makes me think of trees and dirt and water. You know, nature. In fact, I get a strong picture of a tree with branches reaching out high into the sky and roots digging deeper into the earth. His name is Gaia. The other ones doesn't seem to talk too much, but I can feel a consistent feeling of love and excitement. And a symbol of 2 dots with series of dots in between them. She called herself Human, but I think I'll just shorten it to Hume. Renner said the names aloud. It felt like a kick when he said Hume. And felt a kick when he said Hume. That's why she's been so sad and distant, Hannah explained. The kids are worried too, Katie added. Her eyes filled with tears. Renner held his wife and kids close, their worry spilling over into him for the first time. Hannah showed no signs of worry for Renner. In fact, her current circumstance had very little for her to worry about at all. She was going to do whatever she needed to do to save as many as she could. Izzy was being dangerous. This is kind of a different... Give it a pause there. Izzy was being dangerous and risking her life. She spent more time among the Evrent, gathering stones that the Evrent made as fuel for Zig. She even took to taunting Troon by forcibly removing her anchor, which reformed instantly. She was living without fear. She found herself in HQ in an adjoining room. Zig made her to practice close-quarters combat. She had an appetite too voracious and too consuming to leave out in the open. Otto stared at the perspective of the one he had grown to love, learning more about him, until one day he decided to put them away for good. Keeping an eye on Infrazig's movement was a full-time job. He watched as he continued to meet with various politicians. He never really showed much else of the limit. Never showed much else. The limit of the rings began showing themselves after about 5 months. I'm not really learning anything new, Otto complained to Zig in HQ. I think he knows I'm watching. Zig nodded. It is likely, he added before pointing at the screen. I believe he is trying to cause an earth-shattering explosion on Infra-Earth. The screen showed a slow build-up that had been happening beneath the White House. Those are unnatural forces leaking through the scar left by the last portal. If those build up further, I'm not sure how bad it could be, but it could destroy a planet. Zig gave Otto the grave news. Well, how much longer do we have? Izzy said, entering the other room, sweaty and panting. I have no idea how he is summoning these unnatural forces, but if he continues for even a day, we could lose everything. Renner and Hannah appeared and were caught up to speed. So today's the day, Renner said excitedly. We have been training for this day. Let's go get him. Otto opened the portal to Renner's bladder and disappeared to Earth. Renner made a single Infrazig tree in an open field. They all walked in. Zig nodded to them from the other side. They stepped out of the portal to Infra-Earth. Otto was waiting there for him. He knows we're here, Hannah said ominously. She was looking out at a series of black cats wandering around them, none of them making any noise at all of them staring at them. Bunker was growling at them. They scattered as the red mist floated around the buildings in front of them. Hannah stood between them and the mist. She sent out her metal. It began to surround the red, blocking it from view. Otto went through the portal along with Renner and Izzy. Hannah was alone out there, but she oozed the confidence required to best her opponent. The metal funneled the mist towards the portal. It didn't seem to mind. As the Genesis seed got closer, Hannah formed a fine mesh, catching it before it went in. They were alone in the portal with Infrazig. Hannah waited, the Genesis seed encased in metal in the palm of her hand. On the other side, Izzy was angry. She went after Infrazig while he was caught off guard. She got 2 or 3 good hits in before Infrazig made contact with her legs, sending her crashing to the ground. But suddenly, she was next to him again, landing strike after strike, fury unleashed. "Foolish children," he laughed, reaching for Renner. "I am stronger than all of you." He lifted Renner over his head and began ripping him in two. "This is my world," Renner said, now standing in front of him. Renner grew a little in stature to meet his alien nemesis eye to eye. "We are stronger in here than you will ever be." He grabbed Infrazig by the misty arm and tossed him through the portal to Zig. On his way out, he was laughing, saying it's too late, but no one cared. Otto reopened the portal to see Hannah smiling at them, holding something in her hand. It was the Genesis seed, a small, brownish-red seed about the size of a pinky fingernail. The portal behind them disappeared. Otto looked at it. "I didn't close that." He tried opening it again, to no avail. Then he opened a periscope and saw the horror of an Earth in pieces. They stared at it in disbelief until it sunk in. Izzy broke first. All she knew on the planet was gone, the billions of lives snuffed out to spite Zig. She turned her back and wept gently, holding each other as they cried. Seemed to be the only thing they could do to ease their pain. Zig's portal closed too. I didn't do that either. They opened the portal back to the boys' Earth, where they quickly saw that Zig was fine when they were brought up into the mountain. It seems that Infrazig did damage that has now formed a vestigial dimension. The Earths cannot be solved, but in the same moment, there is only one Earth, and nature must grow around the trauma he has created. The trauma that I have created, he corrected himself. "Wait, so we did it?" Renner asked, unsure of the response. Finn.
Well.
Finn book. Finished a book. Not the story. There's plenty to say. In fact, there's a little bit left that is something we can dig into.
Bonus time.
But I was going to do that in the next podcast.
Oh, okay.
We're going to do that and then talk about it and then move on from there with the next story.
I see. Okay. Alright, so there's a couple of things that need to be probably fixed in here, some smoothing out. There's a lot more, but I have to take a break.
You gotta go potty?
I have to. I was enjoying it so much.
Bloom. Right. I'm not cutting this out, so there'll be some silence.
Well, like... it starts right when they're starting to train.
What does?
The smoothing.
Okay, after that. Izzy was being dangerous and risking her life. She spent more time among the event, gathering stones that the event made as fuel for Zig. She even took to taunting Troon by forcibly removing her anchor, which reformed instantly. She was living without fear. She found herself in HQ in an adjoining room Zig made for her to practice close quarters combat. She had an appetite too voracious and consuming to leave out in the open. So that's Izzy's doing her thing. Otto's doing his thing. Not really talking about Renner and Katie, but they had their own thing with Hannah. So you kind of get the idea of what they're doing. Yeah.
Hold on.
They waited too long.
Mm-hmm.
But it did save them from having to lose people.
But they did lose people, too.
But they didn't lose Renner or Otto or Izzy. You know, the important ones.
And I think there's an important factor to note is that you never directly say it.
What?
All the consciousness is on the vestigial Earth.
Well, I mean, we tell it with the dad, so you can extrapolate.
You can extrapolate.
Something crazy is going to happen in the next book because everyone has 2 sets of memories now.
Not everybody.
Everybody who is alive on both planets has 2 sets of memories now, which is a lot of people.
Right. And
it's going to cause some serious chaos in the next story.
And that includes Katie.
Yeah.
Because... Yeah. All right.
Well, it does it. Well, I could probably talk away by saying the kids protected them, or she was on Zig, or maybe she was dead. Her father killed her in another universe, in the sister's world. Something like that. I could... That's kind of dark.
That's for another time.
Yeah.
So, scroll up a bit. Let's go back up to the beginning, because I want to make sure... I don't remember where it was. I saw some pretty bad ones. Up. Ay. Up. Alright. The Misty Hand 3 step through. The children have given him an experience. Most of this sounds good. Except for some punctuation and quotations that need to be fixed.
I think we're going to have to... There are probably going to be punctuations and stuff wrong in this. I just don't care. Punctuation is required mostly. If you're missing some, the people will fill it in.
Well, I was thinking of going through without you and one day. Like, have you...
Well, we're going to be going through it again when we read through it. And you're going to want the punctuation there, so when you read it, it comes out right.
Yes.
So we're going to catch it with that, I'm sure.
Well, I'm going to go probably, like, one of these days while you're writing and I have a day off.
Mm-hmm.
I'll probably go and have you load it on my computer, and I'll just do that on my computer while you're writing.
Okay.
Give you some writing time.
Gotta do a lot of that.
Alright, scroll down a bit. Let's see what we got. With Katie growing closer, she grew in size into her second month. What bad news? Is it bad news, or is it...
What news? Where?
Renner spent time with Katie growing closer as she grew in size. Into their second month, she got some bad news. I don't necessarily see it as a bad news thing, more of a surprising news.
Agreed. I spelled it wrong. Surprising.
Oh,
it's not surprising.
That's not surprising.
Yeah, it's never surprising. It's only surprising. Did that fix it? No, I got rid of it. Did you see this?
Yeah.
There
you go. Similar traits to their father and his siblings. They're born, then what's the end?
And this is like 3 months after this conversation passed before this happens.
Right, scroll back up.
They're just doing a lot of time running around, trying to get stronger and better. And then the funny part is, how much was that required? They wasted a bunch of time and lost their world for it, when they could have gone down there and taken care of it. Which was way scarier. But then again, Hannah would have to sacrifice a whole big thing, right? It's life. What?
Scroll back up.
Oh, sorry.
Up, too far. Alright. I believe that this is the event. Your children are growing similar traits as their father and siblings. Is he talking about more splits?
Yes.
Okay.
The event that would cause another split would be the next set of twins.
No, just that his grab for power will one day come to fruition, and that could be centuries away. Why would it be centuries away?
He doesn't know when it could happen. It could happen any time between now and 3 million years or something. I don't know. He doesn't really express... giving that information is kind of pointless. Over centuries. Well past your guys' death. It could be.
Or it could be tomorrow.
Or it could be tomorrow. Mm-hmm. I think the requirement is that something else has to happen as well as the twins being born. In the same way the portal had to be made, but I don't know, time flows, man. It's probably going to happen eventually, and then the trigger will happen. It'll be done.
So you have the great ball eyes landed and reformed inside of Hannah. Hannah walked to her. You just say she walked to Katie.
Okay. You're right.
Aka?
Acti.
Okay. This line here. How about we just live today?
Yes, this did need to get figured out, didn't it?
And then comma.
Yeah, there's a comma missing.
Right there. Is that the opposite?
Because this is... Or even better, can I give it a space there?
Yeah. And then you say, let's live that tomorrow.
Yeah. So it's, how about we just live today? And tomorrow, we'll live that tomorrow.
Okay.
That's what Renner is saying here.
He's basically
and that's because
saying one day at a time.
He's throwing it back in Katie's face. Because Katie said it to him all the time. So it's like, she gets it, but it's hard when you have multiple people's emotions running through you. And all of them are scared for the same reason.
Well, and then Katie not having that kind of experience, that'd be stressful for her.
Mm-hmm. And she kind of gets inaugurated into the group by having these children and connecting with Hannah the way she does, which is kind of fun.
Okay, so I want to see Hannah underwater too. Hannah is so pretty. And then this made Hannah laugh. And I just, when that is said, my mind instantly goes, both Hannahs, one Hannah, which one? And it's perfect, and I love it.
I could specify that both.
No, I don't want you to.
I don't know that the other Hannah has a voice other than Hannah's. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
But
as long as that's clear. And it's just a thing inside of her that she can communicate with in a different way than we understand.
You could think that Hannah laughs, or other Hannah uses Hannah to laugh. It doesn't matter. But it was wonderful.
And you'll see she doesn't get sad anymore. Does she? I mean, you make sure of it. But I don't think she gets sad anymore.
Right.
There's no more sadness in Hannah. And she actually, it's confidence, it's cool confidence, it's bold confidence, she's trained for so long that she knows what she has to do. She's communicated with the thing. She knows what she has to do. It just took too long.
So I have a question about this, and you probably have an answer for it, and it comes up in the next book, and if so, just say
If it comes in the next book, you're going to hear about it, because I haven't written that.
That's fine.
So don't if that's going to be sad, I mean, maybe just skip the next one. But otherwise, we're just going to be having a chat. It's not nothing. I mean, none of it's set in stone anyway.
Right.
Until it's in the book, it's not set in stone.
A symbol of 2 dots with a series of dots in between them. Can you draw that out for me, what that looks like? With your...
Let me see if I can do it. Actually, this isn't right.
Yeah. What you got?
More like that.
You're still on eraser.
This is not a very clear one, but it's something like that. I'm not doing it well.
A symbol of 2 dots with a series of dots in between them. Where's the 2 dots and the dots in between those 2 dots?
Right, here's the ones in between, and there's the 2 dots. Let me give it. I think it's 15 dots technically to fully see the form. Let me see if I can do it right. Smaller dots.
That's too small.
That might be too small. Red? Red's bigger. Nope, red's way bigger. So I've never actually done this. I've only ever seen it, but it's something like I don't know if I can do this. I'm not doing this justice, but it's something like this, because what you have in it, if you look,
it makes a stick figure.
That was terrible. That is not the case. There are a certain number of dots that you need to see the human form.
I see.
It's that, and I didn't need to explain it in this because it's for Hume, and you will see that later when we talk about Hume and discover her.
It is poorly described.
I know, and I described Gaia so well, but Gaia is easy. I mean, you see the thing I'm trying to do here.
You can say a series of dots that comes into a familiar shape. Because I was seeing a dot on top and a dot on bottom and then a line of dots in the middle.
Isn't that kind of what it is?
No, that's just a bunch of dots in a random spot.
I just wish I could remember. Maybe it's something like that instead. Because you've got to account for the joints is basically what you're highlighting.
I understand, but when you keep putting dots on the screen, I don't see 2 dots that I can pinpoint.
I know. It's not a good description. But you see what I'm trying to do, and I don't want to straight up say that it's a series of dots that displays a human being.
Well, don't say that.
I know.
I said something that was.
Oh, what did you say?
I said that Hannah's speaking. She says it's a series of dots that looks familiar to me.
Okay.
Pointer.
Oh. Oh, I was.
A symbol made up of. Get rid of in between them.
Yeah.
And then.
Oh my goodness. I got the letter wrong there twice.
Yeah. At a symbol made up of a series of dots. So after symbol, made up of a series of dots.
Or just made of a series of dots that come together to form some familiar shape.
Okay, that's enough.
It barely. I don't know. This she would see it. It's the idea is that it is a person.
Yes.
Right.
But you're saying she would see it, but you don't want to.
I don't want her to say it. It's already a little bit too on the nose, what I'm doing here.
Why don't you want her to say it?
What are the kids' names?
Hume and Gaia.
Human and Gaia.
Uh-huh.
Do you see what happened here? What I'm doing?
Yeah, I feel like I do.
What is this? What am I trying to say maybe with this?
Nature and humans?
It's a lot of nature versus nurture. You'll see that Hume requires nurture, whereas Gaia wants nature. Mm-hmm. He just is naturally going to be a soft-spoken, kind boy, whereas Hume will be more close to Izzy, loud, aggressive. In fact, they'll probably be best friends, Izzy and Hume.
But why don't you want Hannah to specifically say it out loud, that's what it's making up of?
It's already really on the nose. And meaning it's already kind of forced in there rather than it coming naturally. I am forcing it in there because in the course of the story, Gaia and Hume's powers are entirely different. Mm-hmm. Gaia, of course, has some sort of natural power, and Hume has some sort of social power. And it has nothing to do with the physical universe. And they solve the problem with their aunts and father.
I mean, you could always just not have the symbol at all.
But the problem is, I gave so much voice to Gaia. You see, the boy makes me think of trees, dirt, water, nature. In fact, to get a strong picture of a tree with branches. He's also the talkative one, mm-hmm. and she's not. So
the other doesn't seem to talk much, but I can feel a consistent feeling of love and excitement.
It's a kid,
and I don't feel like it would be bad to just go. She calls herself human, but I think we'll shorten it to Hume.
That's what it says. I don't know what you mean.
I mean, get rid of the dots altogether. If Gaia's more vocal and Hume is less vocal, then having the descriptions that way is not a bad idea.
The symbology is important, and I don't know why yet. But I feel like there's something about the interaction between humans and nature. That nature does nurture. Mm-hmm. Right? Animals do nurture their young. Mm-hmm. It's just in a completely different way. I honestly step aside and say humans aren't natural. That we beings on this planet, this is not natural, what we're experiencing. What we're experiencing is beyond the natural. That's why dogs don't do it. Why mm-hmm. cats don't do it. And only humans are doing it. So I'm trying to make a very pointed characters to explore those ideas.
Okay.
The ideas of nature and nurture.
I was just.
Yeah.
You can't say there's a.
I'm not opposed to just. Let us know what you think in the comments below. We do really care. We want to hear it.
Ranner said the names out loud and felt a kick Why is kick capitalized?
I don't know. It always capitalizes random stuff. You see it in the next book, too. I see myself doing it.
Alright, keep scrolling down. Okay. In an adjoining room, Zig made for her to practice close quarter combat. She had an appetite too voracious.
It wasn't sated by the capture of Zig.
How much longer do we have?
What do you mean? Oh, that's the story. Right.
Yeah, I'm reading the story.
I thought you were asking me how much longer we have to do a podcast. You've never said that before. Anyway. It's a name, after all. But it is possessive. So, yeah. Add it to the dictionary.
So, today's the day. We have been training for this day. Let's get them. And after that, hit enter. Feel like that beginning of that sentence. Nope, down, right there. See where? No.
Oh.
At the end of that quote.
Oh, duh. That's not. For some reason, my mind was saying, "Oh, it's Otto that said it," but that's just because his name came after it.
And then enter again. Because I feel like that is separate from that. Made a single infrastructure tree in an open field. They all walked in. They stepped out to the portal and for Earth. Otto was waiting for him there. Sorry, I'm trying to...
This is what is it called when the climax happens and it's nothing impressive? Not a letdown.
While you think about that, I'm going to keep reading. Otto went to the portal along with Renner and Izzy. Hannah was alone out there now, but she oozed the confidence required to best her opponent. A metal funneled the mist toward the portal. It didn't seem to mind. As the Genesis C got closer, Hannah formed a fine mesh, catching it before it went in. When they were alone in the portal with him, Hannah waited, Genesis seed cased in metal in the palm of her hands. So Infrazig is the mist, and he went through the portal. Okay.
Zig is the mist.
And
the communication apparatus known as Zig is the mist.
Yes, that's fine. I just trying to make sure that was clear in my head.
There's another color, which we will see in the next time we talk, because he shows up for a brief bit right at the end.
That's fine. Hold on. He's laughing. He's not... The idea of him going into the bladder was to cut him off from all of his plans. Did that not exactly work the way they hoped?
I mean, if I want to spoil it just a little bit, Zig knows what's up. He did it on purpose. All of it. Not the blue one. The red one. Which now the blue one knows, and he's terrified. And you'll see that in the epilogue.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Infrazig did it to get off of...
Infrazig did it because Earth needed a vestigial dimension to stop the next fight. To do something against the next fight. And they needed Earth to not duplicate, but undergo the process.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You're a complicated little being.
Zig is a complicated little thing. You know? But the vestigial dimension is required to stop what is not gotten a name yet, but I just kind of refer to it with hate. It's called hate.
Yeah.
I haven't quite figured out if it has a name or if they're just going to call it hate. I don't know yet.
Okay.
It's H-A-T-E.
The portal disappeared behind them. Otto looked at it. I didn't close that. He tried opening it again, no avail. He opened a periscope and saw the horror of an Earth was in pieces. He stared at it in disbelief. Zig's portal closed too. Why did Zig's portal close too?
He cut it off to reincorporate the Infrazig back in.
Okay.
When they found Zig, he was unconscious. He forgot kind of what was going on. Did you notice that? He had to kind of... The reason why he disappears is because he's going other places and running tests and studying and trying to figure out what's going on. Not because he's not there.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Okay,
He's doing a whole bunch
I kind of wanted to hint at that when he's standing by the window looking out alone when Hannah comes up. So you could see that he's not just disappeared. He's not like...
No, he's just...
hiding or anything. He's doing stuff.
Yeah.
And in the epilogue, you see a room where he does stuff. In fact, it's kind of their arsenal.
Yeah.
Or tool case, even. Those are often similar things.
They opened a portal back to the boys' Earth, where they quickly saw that Zig was fine when they were brought up into the mountain. So they opened the portal back to the boys' Earth. So
he can't pull them from the bladder. He can't teleport them from the bladder. He doesn't know where that is. It doesn't make any sense to him. That place shouldn't exist, according to him.
Okay, so they opened up a portal back to the boys' Earth, so they're basically the boys' home.
Yeah. Well...
And...
It could be wherever Otto wants it to be.
That's
because
fine.
It's the bladder.
I just was giving a point of reference. And then Zig ported them back up to himself. Okay, that's not very clear there.
Well, why? Thanks for telling me that. Tell me where it is. That's not clear.
So let me read this out loud. They open a portal back to the boys' Earth, where they quickly saw that Zig was fine when they were brought up into the mountain. When Zig brought them up into the mountain.
Where they quickly saw that Zig was fine after they were brought back up to the mountain. Is that a little more clear?
Maybe. You didn't really change anything.
Well, I changed context a little bit.
Why are you going to delete Zig?
I'm trying to help you out here.
That he was fine?
Give me a sec.
Oh, okay. When Zig... brought them up back. Okay. No, that's much clearer now.
It seems that Infrazig did damage that has now formed a vestigial dimension. What is vestigial?
Vestigial was there at one point, but no longer is.
That's one way of putting it. People have vestigial tales. That's a thing you hear a lot with the word vestigial.
Okay.
And the vestigial isn't so much that it had a purpose before. It did technically an evolution, but for humans, we don't need a tail. It does nothing for us. It just hangs there. It just, sits there. It's not a thing we have. And so it would be a vestigial part, a thing that isn't a functioning part of the whole. It's just this other thing.
I have a weird question. I think
Maybe I should Google it, too.
Yeah, Google it. But I have a weird question that I may have asked before, and I have a slight memory of it. But let's label them Earth A and Earth B. If they were to go to Mars, would they just go to Mars, or would they go to Mars A and B?
That's a good question. I honestly want to say that for some reason, the space itself doesn't have other dimensions. Doesn't have the same other dimensions as places.
So
like
A and
physical
B,
matter and stuff.
So let's say Earth A and Earth B were to fire rockets at the same time with the same astronauts, and they get to Mars, there'd be a copy of each on that Mars.
Well, that would be the idea.
Okay.
But also another idea is this doesn't happen very often. This is rare.
No, that'd be a crazy random happenstance because there's been enough going on now that there are slight differences on both.
Mm-hmm.
So, from the moment of the split. Mm-hmm. I was just curious if that was the case.
Yeah, I think that the reason why that would happen is because both Earths are doing the same thing. They're kind of just... They would both do it at the same time, but because one is aware of the other, everything got all messed up. No, I think... Okay, did you find vestigial?
forming a very small remnant of something that was once much larger or more noticeable.
Yeah, there was once an Earth there, and you could clearly see there was an Earth there, and now it's fragments of it. Very small fragments left. The rest of it was blasted out of the solar system in a massive explosion.
The other one is...
The biology is the one I'm actually talking about.
Degenerate, rudimentary, or atrophied, having become functionless in the course of evolution.
Which our tail, human tail, would not have a function for us.
No.
So some people have a vestigial tail. And I guess the same thing is happening here where there's a remnant, right? There was one thing that was happening, and it was a bigger thing, because monkeys use their tails very effectively, and then it became less noticeable on humans, and then it just disappeared. So when humans do have it, it becomes this kind of degenerate, rudimentary, atrophied thing that we don't use anymore as human beings. It's just on a bigger scale in biology than it is in as an adjective there. It's just in a bigger scale is all. Like a longer time or bigger numbers and bigger things.
I think I saw everything I felt like needed to be smoothed out.
And that's it. What is it called? I can't... It goes... It's like spoiled. No, like spoiled. Like, it was... I think it's satisfying. I think it's a lot of build-up for nothing. And that was what my goal was. Don't get me wrong. I'm doing this intentionally. The next book will not look like this. Everything's going to be a lot darker, a lot scarier, and even the kids themselves may not know each other as well as they do now. Like, things are going to change for them when hate arrives. And I'm just saying hate, again, not that it's a name of the thing. I haven't fully figured that out yet. But I can say it's definitely eldritch. And for those of you who don't know the word eldritch, that's one of my favorite words. Let's see what it says over her. I hope I'm allowed to show this. It's downloading the results. Lovely.
Well, you may have not spelled it right. Weird and sinister or ghostly.
Wow, that is a terrible definition for that word. Let's see what Google says. That is lazy. I mean, it comes from something from Lovecraft. It's a horror thing. Yeah, it's just saying weird, sinister, or ghostly. That's lazy. It meant elf in Old English.
Oh.
It's perhaps related to elf. There you go. The meaning of eldritch is strange or unnatural, especially in a way that inspires fear. Similar words are weird or eerie. Like an intensely scary thing way off in the distance that's way too big. Way too strong for the people that
What you have is an anti-climax.
Yeah, that's what the word was. It's an anti-climax, yes. Yes, I was trying to go for an anti-climax. Where it's like, I'm building up, and it's... And that's on purpose. Please understand if you're a little frustrated right now. That is on purpose. They worked really hard to get that win easy. And they shouldn't have. And they earned their anti-climax. Because they could have gone and taken care of it, but they didn't. They waited until they were strong enough. When they were already probably strong enough.
All right. Is it time?
For the final recap.
Well, is it final if we still have an epilogue to talk about?
Yes. I don't believe the epilogue was required. It's like 7 sentences. It's not a lot.
Can you close out of your search over here?
Maybe.
No.
It's powered by beings, so probably not. Well, that wasn't it. Oh, there you go. Okay.
Hey. They did it. So secondary plan discussed.
What was the first thing that happened?
They discussed their secondary plan.
Oh.
Wow.
So Zig should maybe say more about the bladder, because that doesn't make sense to him. That shouldn't even be possible to him. That's like he exists in every dimension except that one. And when he walks in, he can't take more with him. He can't bring everyone with him. Ow. He can only do it by himself, which is a completely different and new experience for him, which he doesn't have.
Yeah.
I think I made that very clear. Twins Surprise. There is an S, not a Z. Sick. And then
training.
And then Anti-climax.
Anti-climax.
It's a great example. Anticlimactic. That's what I usually hear, is anticlimactic. Which this is very anticlimactic.
Yes.
Was my goal. And if you want more, just say it, and maybe I'll work on it. You never know. Maybe, well, after Nathaniel, after Pure Uncut Magic.
Yeah, definitely.
Which I can just do this, because I haven't started chapter 23, and I can kind of show you. I got a lot on here already. And I've got another book that we've discussed, The Thesis of the Last Warlock, and we are currently in discussion of another one about a new kind of fae.
Yes.
Okay.
Not sure exactly where that one's going.
Yes. Yes, not 100% sure. We got an idea for The Thesis of the Last Warlock, and I think that is going to be one of my favorites to write.
Is it?
It's because he's just going to kick a bunch of butt, because he's super strong. the story... I'll spoil that, but the reality is the rest we've discussed is so much more beautiful than the hero kicking butt. And in fact, I wouldn't call him a hero. I wouldn't even call him an anti-hero.
Yeah, there was a
We
term.
are following the villain in the story.
Yes.
Just a change of pace.
Would you say a villain with a change of heart-ish, or
a villain who obtained all of his dreams and then regretted it, because that is his life. From the moment he obtains his dreams, he begins to regret everything. Everything that he does.
Okay.
His life he speaks to something called the fathomless, and the fathomless grants him power beyond his wildest dreams, and everyone forgets who he is.
Yep.
Completely forgets who he is. His name, runs around as the Nameless One, because he maybe forgets who he was.
Ooh,
in a lot of ways. He has to kind of get it back.
That'll be the first time
while
I've heard of
regretting everything that he does.
Mm-hmm.
But that's 2 books away. We're working on Pure Uncut Magic.
Yep.
And when we get to that, that'll be fun. So, let's get back to the recap. See, I even have my recap set up for it.
Ooh. Nice.
Oh, wait, no, we did the recap.
We did the recap.
Book 1, finished. On to book 2. Encourage me, I need it.
Nah, I think I'm done now.
Thanks to everyone for watching. We love you.
Have a good day.
Like, comment, subscribe, and if we haven't already figured out what chapter 23 should be called,
let us know.
Let us know.
Bye.
I figured I'd just leave it open to you guys. Bye.